So we're going to learn how to use Google Draw. You notice I did a close-up view of a flower. This was inspired by the artist Georgia O'Keeffe. I started with this photograph, and then I actually drew on top of that photograph until I was finally finished and I had this wonderful work of art. So to create a work of art inspired by Georgia O'Keeffe and learn how to use Google Draw, you're going to go to your Google Drive, then you're going to go to New, and as you scroll down, you'll see More. Scroll over, so we're not clicking on anything, but now I'm going to click on Google Drawings. So here I am in Google Drawings, and I have a plain canvas, which is the checkerboard. That is your canvas. This is your desktop, the gray part. You're going to title your drawing, give it a title. I'm going to call it Flower. Okay, you can title it whatever you want. So all I did was click on here, and I just named it if you want to rename it. And right now it says it's located in my drive. I can select where I'm going to put it in my drive by highlighting it and going to a file. If you put a star, then if you go to your star, you'll always find it in your star. It's up to you, but you need to find it again, okay, in order to work on it more than one sitting. Okay. First step is to find an image, a photograph that you're going to work from. So I'm going to insert an image, and I'm going to search the web. So look where I am, insert, I slide down my fingers to image, and then I go to search the web. Now, if you already have a photograph, you can go into your drive, but this is the easiest thing to do. And you're going to type in the word flower, and you're going to see lots of different flowers come up. Pick the simplest version for yourself. You do not have to get complicated about it. This is the one that I showed you in the other image. I think I'm going to select this one here because I'm going to do it relatively simple. So I'm going to insert. And now, if it does not come in the size of my canvas, I'm going to stretch it. So I am going to show you by holding the Shift key down. Now, on your keyboard, you're holding the Shift key down, all right? And then you're sizing it. So if it comes in this small, that's too small. Now, if I just don't hold my Shift key down and I go like this, I'm going to possibly change the shape of my flower. Always go from the corner and hold the Shift key down and you won't change. But if I go from the side, look what happens to my flower. It gets distorted, okay? You can always fix that by going to Undo up here, or Command Z, or Edit, Undo. So these are all hotkeys here, if you haven't noticed. And that's stuff you can use your keyboard to do. So remember, pick the corner, hold the Shift key down, and make sure it's as big as your canvas, but not outside the canvas. So do not go outside the checkerboard, or that will not be part of your art. And then we're going to start with my center, and I'm going to draw an odd-shaped center because I do have these petals in here. And I'm going to learn about these tools over here. So this is my Select tool. This is how I select the photograph or any objects that I draw. I'll show you that. But this is the tool you're going to use a lot. And this is your line tool. And these are all the different versions in here, but we're going to learn how to use the curve. Okay, so the curve tool, I'm going to click and drag. And there's a line drawing, and I'm going around the shape of the center of my flower. I'm clicking and dragging. Now, if you click twice, it'll end. So you don't want to click twice or you'll end it. If you make a mistake, that's okay. You can start over. And I'm sort of going in this star shape that I see here. And maybe making a little up on my own. But this is the center part of my flower. Now here's the real important point. You need to connect these. If you connect them, you will get a shape. So now that I'm going to use that as the center shape of my flower. Notice that it's filled with blue. And my object right now, I need to select it because I want to change the color in here because right now I still have the curve tool selected. So I'm going to use my Select tool, which is the arrow, and now I can select that, which I already did. See that blue box? That means that it's selected. If I click twice, it's going to show me all the points I dropped. So if you don't like how you shape this, watch what you can do with these purple points. You just drag these around and move them wherever you want. Okay, go to your fill now, which is this bucket. It's a paint bucket. Okay, and you can fill this with whatever color you want. So I can just select a color, but let me show you how to use gradient. So instead of a solid color, I'm going to choose gradient. Gradient means it will go from one color to the next. There are already filled gradients I can use, and that's sort of from light to dark, or I can customize. So let me go to gradient, and I'm going to go to custom. So it selected that beginning color. I want it to go in a circle, and I'm going to start by changing some of these colors. So I'm going to leave that to be that light pink, and then I'm going to add color. So the next thing, if I hit add, it's going to put another dot. And now see how that's selected with blue? I'm going to add another color in there. I'm going to add, and you can do this rainbow colored if you want. I'm going to add another color. I'm going to add one more, I think. Maybe I'll add yellow in there. Okay, so now, if I want to change this color on the end, you see how it turned blue? If I want to change any of these colors, when they turn blue, those are the ones that I'm going to change. The other thing is I can move these to have more or less of one color, or slide that one over if I want more of that color, or slide this one over. I want more of the yellow. I think I'm going to kind of do that. So I'm playing with her at. Now this is going in a circle. This is a radial gradient, which means that it goes from one color to the next. And if I wanted it to be linear, I would select linear. All right, but I'm going to stick with radial. And this is going from the center. I could go from the top left, but I'm going to leave it in the center because it's like a flower is in the center. And now I'm going to say okay. And that is going to be the center of my flower. Now I'm going to add my petals. So now I have to go back to my curve tool. So make sure you have the down arrow and you select the curve. You see how it's selected right here? Now, if you wanted to do a more square shape, but flowers are not square shaped, you would pick the polyline tool. So I picked this tool right here. But I want to use the curve tool, but I'm going to show you. Look what happens when I use the polyline tool. It makes a polygon. And it's still selected with that. But I'm going to use the curve tool, and now I'm going to draw my petals. So I'm clicking and dragging. And every time I click, I put one of those purple dots. And I'm tracing around my flower. Now here's the tricky part. You got to make sure you magnetically connect these. So look, you'll see it. It'll all of a sudden connect. Now that's the same color as my inside of my flower. I do not want to make that the same color. So I'm going to say custom, and I'm going to start over with some new colors. I'm going to remove all those colors. And I'm just going to change these colors. So I'm going to click on the box, and now I'm going to change this to a color that I want to do. Then I'm going to change this one by clicking on it. I'm clicking on it. I'm going to change that one. You can add as many colors as you want. And I think I'm going to leave that. Now, I'm going to make this a linear gradient. So I'm clicking the down arrow to linear, and that is in a 90-degree angle, but I'm going to turn that to 180. Okay, so watch that. I can change the differences in here. I can be on an angle, but I'm going to put this in 180. And I'm going to say okay. And now that's going to be the color I'm going to use for my flower. I'm going to leave that like that. I'm going to go back to my curve tool again, make sure that's selected. And now, see right now my arrow tool is selected. That's why that's blue. So go to your curve tool. You'll see you'll get this cross. And now you're going to put the next petal in. There. Now I'm going back to my curve tool. Clicking and dragging. Every time I click, I put one of those little purple dots that I showed you in the very beginning. And remember, connect it. Okay, so remember if I click twice, I get these purple dots, and I can move these around and change the shape if I wanted to. Okay, let me put another petal. I'm going to put one more. I have 2 more to do. This is a very simple flower. Connect it. 1 more. Click and drag. Okay, now we have a little bit of a problem. My center is all the way behind my flowers. So I want to go back to this tool over here. I'm going to select my center, and I'm going to go to Arrange, Order, and bring it to the front. Okay, so there's the center of my flower. There are my petals. The next thing to do is to do your background. And you could add details in later if you wanted to. The one really important thing I didn't show you is the line tool, the border tool. So here's the border. Right now the border color is black of that object. Okay, if I make that, I'm going to make that just big so you can see it. That's the weight. I'm going to leave that at a 4-point weight, and I'm going to change that to a yellow. Better yet, I'm going to change it to orange. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with these objects. And let me show you how to select them all together. So I'm holding my Shift key down on the keyboard, clicking on my petal, clicking on each petal. And then I am going to say, go to the line tool, and I'm going to change the border to be a little bit thicker. See how it's black and thick? And then I'm going to change it to whatever color I want to change it to. What if I go with red? Okay, so that's a close-up of my flower. Now the next thing is to do your background. So just like we inserted a color, a photograph, we're going to insert maybe a photograph for the background. So I'm going to insert image. I'm going to search it on the web, and I'm going to type in polka dots. Okay, and I can choose one of these as my background. It might be too busy, but I'm going to try one. And you can scroll down and see what else you have. If you don't like polka dots, you can go with something else. I'm going to go with this one. Now, it's going to put that behind on top of my image. So here's the problem I'm going to have. I have to size that to fit behind my flower and to fit on my canvas. So if you don't want the shape to change, you can hold the Shift key. But if you don't mind the shape changing, remember you can pick the border here. Now it's still in front of my flower. So remember that Arrange tool? Well, we're going to go to Arrange, and we're going to send that to the back. So remember Arrange, Order. Now you see how my circles change the shape? I'm going to send that all the way to the back. Now here's, unfortunately, my photograph is there. So look what happens. I'm moving my photograph out of the way. Well, that's way too busy, don't you think? I think it's way too busy. So I'm going to delete that, but you can do it another way. You can insert an image and go, not an image, go for a shape. And I'm going to insert a shape, probably a rectangle shape. Okay, and remember I'm staying in my gray area. Okay, and I'm going to do a fill back here. I'm going to do a gradient fill. And I'm going to do a custom again, and I'm going to change those colors by adding whatever colors I want. So I'm making a linear gradient, so I'm adding colors as I go here. And then that last box, I click on it, and I click here, and that's how I change the color. Again, I can make this have more or less. So that's on a 90-degree angle. I can do it on diagonal, 270-degree angle. I just flipped everything. I'm going to stick with the 90 degrees. I like that. Okay, now it's in front of my flower. So remember, Arrange, Order, Send to back. It's a little busy, but I'm going to leave it for now. And then the last step is to put a frame. Okay, and if you wanted to put details in here, you could draw using the Scribble tool. So I will show you a little bit of how to use the Scribble tool, which say I want to draw those pistons, those little flower things, and I can change those. I can keep adding those. into the center of my flower. I'm not in love with that, so I'm going to undo all that. Okay, I'm going to leave it very abstract like it is. Okay, now I'm going to add my frame. So I same tool, insert a shape. And now I'm going to add a red frame to the outside of this. So I'm going to make it as big as my canvas. Now here's the problem. Right now it's filled. You're going to make it transparent, which means it's see-through. And then you're going to make this border weight a thickness, and you can leave it black, or I'm going to make it red. And now here we are, and there's my completed Georgia O'Keeffe abstract flower. And the last step is to delete this. We're going to download this as a JPEG. So File, Download JPEG. And this will put this right in your drive. And then you're going to go to Artsonia, and you're going to upload that JPEG into Artsonia.